Spurs held on tight to their 1-goal lead against Man United to claim their second win in the row in the Premier League since September, while Man United are yet to go 2 wins in a row under Amorim in the Premier League. It's safe to say both teams are definitely not where they would like to be this season, and both are going through their fair share of injuries and tactical problems, and there's definitely a lot of work that needs to be done. But in last night's clash, while both Man United and Spurs were able to carve out a few decent opportunities, there were some confusing tactical choices that need to be analysed, especially down to the defensive shape used by Man United. So in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at why Man United was so exposed in midfield and allowed Spurs to progress centrally the vast majority of the game, but also how Man United was still able to carve out a few dangerous opportunities, even if it's not in the way Amorim intended. Welcome to talkSPORT, my name is Cormac from Football Meta, and if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe for more. Last night's win for Spurs marks their first win at home in over 3 months, and takes them all the way up the table into 12th, simultaneously overtaking Man United, who have slipped down to 15th under Ruben Amorim, suffering their 12th defeat of the season. Now, a big talking point of this game was Man United's midfield, and how Ruben Amorim's instructions for Bruno Fernandes left some big gaps in the centre. So let's start this analysis by taking a look at how Spurs were able to take advantage of Man United's pressing shape. With Spurs building from the back, Man United did look to close them down in the first phase of the press. Højlund and Xerxes would pick up the centre-backs. Dalot would move forward onto Spence, with Garnacho on Porro, while Fernandes would push forward onto Bentancur, leaving Casemiro on Bergvall and one of the centre-backs ready to break the line to close down Maddison. To gain a man advantage in this phase, Man United would look to force Spurs onto the flank, with Xerxes then cutting off a pass back to the goalkeeper, and would then rotate to close off this side of the pitch, leaving the opposite flank completely free, but also making it difficult for Spurs to move into this position. This led to arguably Man United's best chance of the night in the first half. We can see how Man United are covering all options in the centre, with Maddison free and the centre-backs ready to push forward. But as they rotate to the right, Danso is forced wide, with few options ahead of him. Dalot moves inside onto Maddison, and there are no easy options to play it forward. Kulusevski rushes a pass into a dangerous area, and when Man United regain possession, Garnacho is free to receive the ball, but misplaces his shot above the crossbar. In fact, from this position on the pitch, Man United weren't defending too badly, and were able to cause Spurs a lot of issues during build-up. But it's as they moved into midfield that the biggest issues started to emerge. From here, Man United reverted to a 5-3-2 shape with Højlund and Xerxes as the front two. On paper, this shape makes a lot of sense, as Man United can essentially match up man for man with Spurs. They could keep Maddison and Bergvall marked closely, and the fullbacks would be closed down by Garnacho and Fernandes, with the other one needing to rotate more centrally to help out. But in reality, this was not how it went at all. Firstly, Maddison quickly realised that the space was not between the lines but by dropping into a deeper position away from Mazraoui, a position that he's picked up most of the time he's played this season. And with Spence staying wide on the left flank rather than inverting more centrally as we have seen in previous games, Fernandes had to cover a lot of distance to close him down. This resulted in Spurs often creating these overloads on the left flank, with Mazraoui in the half space but too far away to close down Maddison. So it was essentially not covering anyone from this position, while Fernandes was caught in two minds on which player he should effectively close down. A lot of Spurs' progression came from this position, either with Spence cutting inside or Maddison having time to pick out the right pass in the centre. We can see an example of this here with Spurs pushing forward. Fernandes is forced wide, and now Casemiro is in a 2v1 with Bergvall and Maddison, because Garnacho's focus was on Pedro Porro, so is late to move inside. Maddison is then free to receive the ball and plays an excellent ball in behind for Son, who finds Tel on the cutback but isn't able to beat Onana. And as the game progressed, these gaps in midfield became more and more apparent towards the end of the first half, and it was far too easy for Spurs to find space through the middle. However, the goal for Spurs came early on in the match and wasn't necessarily down to this overload on the left, but it was down to some inconsistencies on the right flank. The move progresses nicely with a switch from Son into Porro. Dorgu has moved inside to follow Kulusevski, and Garnacho is late to close down Porro on the flank. However, Son's pass is not the best, and as Man United shift over, Spurs slowly move more and more players over to this flank, with Maddison becoming the extra player, and no Man United defenders breaking the defensive line and pushing forward. This eventually leads to Bentancur having space out wide to cross into the box and finds Son, before a parried shot from Bergvall falls nicely into the path of Maddison, reacting before any Man United player. In my opinion, the vast majority of issues for Man United in this game came from the fact that Amorim insisted on keeping a 2v1 against Tel in the centre for the vast majority of the game. And while this did work in the sense that Tel was pretty quiet for the vast majority of this game, it meant Man United were far too static at the back. And because of these midfield rotations that would stretch Casemiro and Fernandes apart, it meant Spurs had a lot of space to push forward. I think if the defensive line was a bit more aggressive and trusted itself in a 1v1, Mazraoui or De Ligt could have been used more aggressively to add support in the centre, without sacrificing too much space at the back. Or even a more aggressive rotation of Dalot on Spence with Mazraoui covering Son would allow Fernandes to stay closer in the centre, and quicker to close down someone like Maddison. Now, Spurs on the other hand, while there's definitely still a lot of room for improvement, did look somewhat decent at times in this game, and did dominate large portions of the match and finish the game with a higher XG than Man United. The rotations of Spence and Porro caused a lot of confusion for Man United's midfield, and the free roll of Maddison did mean they were able to create some nice overloads at times. And a lot of this control also came from their extremely energetic press, and they were able to close down Man United and not give them time to create the shape that Amorim wants in possession. And while Man United were able to create some decent opportunities, I'm not entirely sure if they're all coming from what Amorim is practicing in training. During his time at Sporting, the key trait of the team building from the back was the patience they would have from this position, rotating from flank to flank and waiting for the right gap to open up. But with Man United, play will nearly always progress down the first flank they move down, and in this game Man United would consistently shift to the right flank and force a ball down the line, which was consistently intercepted by Spurs. As Man United moved further up the pitch, Amorim wants to create a 3-4-2-1 shape, with this box in midfield, and the wing-backs ready to receive the ball and drag the fullback out of position, to play a ball in behind for the inside forward or the striker. However, with an aggressive press like Spurs used last night, United rarely had the time to create this shape, meaning that the players were often out of position and couldn't create the shape they needed. This resulted in the vast majority of space being behind Spurs' extremely high defensive line, but were very rarely able to find a player without being offside. A decent chance for Højlund in the first half came when he was played into the channel, but countless times in the second half they were caught offside. In moments where Spurs weren't able to put pressure on the ball, especially with players like Fernandes able to rotate from their position, they did create some decent chances. A good opportunity fell for Garnacho, who was played in behind from Xerxes. And with Man United circulating possession and finding space on the edge of the box, a cross from this position was able to beat the defence and find Xerxes, who couldn't steer his header on target. But with all these chances being missed, you can't help but feel for Amorim as well, because all a manager can do is get his players into a scoring position. Whether they convert or not is essentially out of the manager's hands. But what did you make of this game, and how do you think Man United can improve their form towards the end of the season? Leave your thoughts in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, I have more tactical breakdowns on my channel, Football Meta. Thanks for watching.